I like it because I know one thing for certain is that if you do get married, you must commit yourself to that.
Heartbreak, betrayal, and a legend who never stopped singing. Cliff Richard carried an invisible wound for half a century. He adored one woman who chose his best friend, remarried, then took her last breath cradled in Cliff's arms. Fans saw the bright lights, but they never saw the pain. In 2014, police smashed through his door searching for evidence that did not exist. The BBC had tipped him off, cutting a secret deal that turned rumor into live drama. The claims were false, yet the fallout was brutal. Weight melted away, shingles flared, and sleep vanished. Cliff said his own home felt poisoned. The hero of Wembley suddenly feared the world outside. Travel back to October 14, 1940. King George Hospital in Lucknow, British India, shook with air raid sirens while Harry Roger Webb entered planet already on fire. World War II thundered overhead, and Indian protests against empire boiled in the streets. 6 years later, riots exploded on Direct Action Day. British families knew it was time to run. Harry's father, tied to the shrinking colonial system, packed the family onto the SS Ranchi, a crowded ship creaking across the Indian Ocean. For 3 endless weeks, the vessel held hundreds fleeing the only land they understood. Sunshine servants became ration card strangers, swapping warm nights for gray English rain. The Webbs landed in a cramped house in Charlton, Surrey. No more vast rooms, no more balmy evenings. Young Harry felt the chill, yet the hardship sparked fire inside him. He vowed to turn this tough new life into something colossal. A sharp-eyed manager named Harry Grader X watched the teen on small-town stages. He whispered, "You need a name that sounds like rock." First came Cliff, sturdy and unbreakable like the white cliffs by the sea. Then Richard, saluting the wild energy of Little Richard. Harry Webb vanished. Cliff Richard roared to life. August 29, 1958 shook Britain. Cliff, only 18, unleashed Move It, a raw blast that ripped Polite Pop to pieces. The single punched number 2 and told every British teenager they now had their own rebel hero. He was not copying America. He was making something brand new. The concerts that followed felt like earthquakes. Girls shrieked, cried, then fainted in piles. Boys glared, jealous of the spotlight. Security lines crumbled. Reporters labeled the frenzy Cliff hysteria, and record labels cashed in fast. 1 year later, the madness doubled. Cliff reluctantly recorded Living Doll, grumbling that it felt too sugary. The band slowed the beat, turned it into a gentle country glide, and boom. 6 weeks at number 1 and 770,000 singles sold. Silver disc in November, gold by January. Travel and Light followed, another 5 weeks on the throne. Between both hits, Cliff cleared the million mark, a feat no other Brit had touched. Hollywood noticed. In 1959, the 19-year-old shocked viewers by starring in Serious Charge, a dark film about lies and forbidden desire. 1 year later, he lampooned the music business in Espresso Bongo. Cliff warned the nation he was more than a pretty face. Then came Summer Holiday and the chaos exploded. On January 10th, 1963, 3,000 fans packed Leicester Square, trapping Cliff in his car. The soundtrack was already number 1 and held the spot for 14 weeks. Its hits, including The Next Time and Bachelor Boy, ruled radio. The film landed just behind From Russia with Love at the box office, and Cliff was crowned the nation's top film star. Enter the Beatles, the new giants many thought would crush him. Wrong. In 1964, at the height of Beatlemania, Cliff fired out 6 top 10 singles while the Fab Four managed 5. Constantly on the beach, and I Could Easily Fall in Love with You kept his torch blazing. Summer Holiday clashed with A Hard Day's Night in cinemas, and both smashed records. Paul McCartney later admitted the Beatles ran to Hamburg because Cliff already ruled Britain, and John Lennon declared, "Before Cliff Richard and Move It, there was nothing worth listening to in England." Then came a shock nobody expected. In 1965, New Musical Express asked global fans to pick the world's top male singer. Cliff beat Elvis Presley, beat Lennon, beat McCartney. Help and Rubber Soul were fresh. Elvis still sold out arenas, but Cliff stood taller. His secret was steady evolution. He mixed bright pop, gentle faith, playful films, and sincere charm, never chasing every passing trend. For millions, he remained the original rock they trusted. June 1966 delivered his most surprising curtain rise. At Earl's Court, Cliff walked on stage beside American evangelist Billy Graham and announced that he had become a Christian. This was no quiet confession. The event was broadcast nationwide in the middle of the swinging 60s. Some devoted fans wept. Others froze in disbelief. The rebel with the guitar had chosen a new path, ending a 2-year search for meaning right under the hottest spotlight imaginable. By the late 60s, the music scene flipped again. Psychedelic sounds ruled the charts, and many early idols faded. Cliff refused to fade. He issued bold gospel-tinged tracks, such as All My Love, and embraced television specials that mixed rock rhythm with personal belief. Variety shows loved his grin, and families hummed his tunes together. He turned potential decline into fresh triumph. The 70s arrived with glam glitter and progressive experiments, yet Cliff adjusted once more. Devil Woman in 1976 crashed radio playlists from London to Los Angeles and gave him a rare American top 10. Songs like We Don't Talk Anymore and Wire for Sound kept gold records piling up. Each change met the same open smile and endless work ethic that powered his first hit. Behind the smile, the private heartbreak lingered. The woman he had loved for decades remained a haunting memory. Friends saw him staring at empty stages after encore bows, lost in thought. He once told a confidant that applause was sweet, yet lonely hotel rooms felt like endless tunnels. He poured the ache into ballads that sounded joyful and aching all at once. Then disaster struck. In August 2014, police raided his Berkshire apartment live on television. Cameras hovered outside like vultures while officers searched for non-existent crimes. The claims were false, yet public opinion waits for no verdict. Cliff felt the floor drop away. He lost weight, fought shingles, and dreaded sunrise. He later said his sanctuary felt spoiled, as if joy had been chased out by invisible smoke. The investigation dragged on for almost 2 years before officials admitted there was no case. Yet reputations rarely heal overnight. Cliff sued the BBC for turning his life into a live spectacle and won, though victory fell hollow. He likened the ordeal to walking through fire and thanked loyal fans who mailed encouragement by the thousand. Through every twist, Cliff never married and raised no children, choosing instead to nurture countless songs. He once joked that each record was like a newborn he sent into the world. That single-minded devotion kept him touring into his 70s, filling arenas with fans whose grandparents had screamed at the first concerts. Cliff Richard stands today as proof that endurance can outshine even the brightest flash. His tale carries betrayal, triumph, faith, and a battle against lies, all woven into the soundtrack of modern Britain. The heartbreak that began in a quiet hospital room now echoes through every stadium he conquers. And the voice that once shook teenage hearts still soars, refusing to be silenced by scandal or time. Imagine the roar of guitars drop into silence as a superstar suddenly thanks God on stage. In the early 70s, it felt unthinkable. Yet Cliff Richard did exactly that and rocked the business to its core. Rock idols are supposed to smash rules, not share faith. Cliff's public declaration sent shock through radio booths and gossip pages. Fans gasped, critics scoffed. Promoters whispered that his glory days were gone. Magazine editors predicted retirement. Journalists claimed he would become a teacher, and insiders started betting on a replacement. Panic spread because people thought worship songs and screaming crowds could never mix. Behind heavy curtains, Cliff wrestled with the same fear. Nights turned sleepless while he wondered if he should quit rather than live a double life. Every prayer felt like a tug of war with his own dream. Then came a fearless choice. Cliff stayed, guitar in hand, faith in heart, and forged a trail no British pop star had walked before. He proved belief in big stages could stand together without apology. That single decision rewrote the rule book. Young artists trapped between choir stalls and concert halls suddenly saw a new path. Cliff showed that honesty could sell tickets and send singles racing up the charts. The change rebuilt him from the inside. He later confessed his early swagger had been an act, saying, "My confidence grew, my attitude changed, it wasn't important to be right all the time, and the fake mask shattered." Now performing as his true self, he faced the Beatles and the full Merseybeat wave without blinking. While other pioneers scrambled, Cliff sharpened his sound and sang harder because each lyric finally matched his heart. Trouble struck in 1975 when he missed the charts for the first time since Move It newspapers wrote eulogies. Radio moved on, and rivals claimed his reign was finished. Then lightning hit. Devil Woman exploded in April 1976, clawing number 9 in Britain and number 6 in America, with a spooky tale of curses, fortune tellers, and a wandering cat. 2 million copies later, Cliff was back in command. Rock legends stood up and cheered. Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, and Elton John pinned "I'm Nearly Famous" badges to their jackets, saluting a comeback so strong that critics compared the new LP to Marvin Gaye's finest work. Cliff pushed forward. In 1987, he teamed with Alan Tarney for Always Guaranteed, a sleek album inspired by Thriller, yet free of cartoonish keyboards. It went platinum, reached number 5, stayed 24 weeks on the chart, and fired 4 singles into the top 40, each turning silver as 250,000 buyers grabbed a copy. Christmas 1988 sparkled even brighter. With studio tinsel hanging in sweaty July heat, Cliff recorded Mistletoe and Wine. The single jumped from 7 to 1 in a week, ruled December for 4 straight weeks, sold 750,000 units in 42 days, and outperformed U2, Kylie Minogue, and Phil Collins. Even in 2024, it still earned $100,000 a year in royalties. May 1989 brought an unbelievable landmark. Cliff launched his 100 single, inviting 2,000 fans to the London Palladium, playing 6 secret tracks and letting the crowd vote. The runner-up, The Best of Me, became the release, peaking at number 2 and charting as far as Australia. 2 weeks later, Wembley Stadium hosted the event. More than 70,000 poured through the gates to watch a living jukebox come to life. The first half blasted 50s memories with the Vernon's Girls, the Dallas Boys, and the Kalin Twins. The second half streaked into modern hits that proved Cliff was never just nostalgia. Cameras captured every grin and riff. Later cut into a live LP and television special that sealed the night as history, not just entertainment. That same season, the British Awards handed him their highest honor for outstanding contribution to music. By then, Cliff held 65 top 10 hits, 14 number ones, and a record of chart-topping success in 5 straight decades. June 30, 1990, Thunder with Nebworth Park, a colossal charity show for Nordhoff Robin's music therapy. Rain hammered thousands, yet spirits soared while Tears for Fears opened. Then Paul McCartney, Pink Floyd, Genesis, and Eric Clapton followed. Cliff and the Shadows played tight and joyful, proving once again he belonged beside the biggest names in rock. 6 months later, songwriter Chris Eaton pressed play on a demo titled Savior's Day inside a Rolls Royce. Cliff smiled and declared this is a number 1. He was right. The single stepped from 6 to 1 on 23rd December, knocking Ice Ice Baby off the throne and giving Britain another holiday classic. Through all of this, his chart record shone like a mirror ball. By the end of 1989, he had 65 top 10s and 14 unforgettable number 1s, a haul unmatched by any peer. His timeline dazzled statisticians. Cliff topped charts in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, a 5-decade span no other solo singer had crossed. Critics stopped asking whether faith blocked his art. Instead, they wondered how belief gave him stamina other performers only dreamed of. Cliff answered by touring yearly, greeting fans, and supporting causes from famine relief to cancer research. Even shifting technology could not slow him. As vinyl flipped to cassette, then compact disc, and finally digital files, Cliff remastered classics, filmed glossy videos, and live-streamed shows long before livestream became trendy. Each upgrade delivered a story to fresh ears who danced beside lifelong devotees. Savior's Day carried his momentum into new decade, selling 500,000 units by Easter 1991, and winning an Ivor Novello Trophy for Best Song musically and lyrically. The tune still returns to holiday playlists every winter. Looking back, Cliff Richard's leap from worried believer to fearless pioneer shattered more than sales records. He demolished the myth that rock stars must choose between soul and success, proving that clear conviction can power creativity forever. A beach baked in September sun suddenly looked like the North Pole. Film crews on Dirtle Door and Swanage wrapped actors in thick scarves and bobble hats and made them pretend it was Christmas, sweat pouring down their faces. Yet the finished shots sparkled like real winter magic. That bright holiday illusion fed straight into Cliff Richard's next triumph. He rolled out Private Collection 1979-1988, a greatest hits set that blasted past 1.2 million sales and turned multi-platinum, outselling a wave of fresh young stars. We Don't Talk Anymore, already near 5 million worldwide, echoed from every kitchen radio in Britain. Cliff was not riding nostalgia. He was steering a speeding industry. Then the story twisted. In 1999, Cliff released a Millennium Prayer. Big radio brands slammed the brakes. BBC Radio 2 said it lacked broad appeal, even while spinning Tina Turner and Cher, both Cliff's age. Radio 1 had long dumped older acts, and Virgin's Chris Evans joked that Cliff was too old. Some DJs even needed written approval just to hit play. Angry fans picketed outside the BBC gates, stunned that the man who built entire charts was now locked outside. Yet faith and followers moved mountains. With no powerhouse label, no primetime airplay, and no marketing machine, the Millennium Prayer punched to #1 for 3 straight weeks from 28 November to 19 December. It became his 14th UK chart topper exactly 40 years after his first. Supporters bought extra copies. Choirs sang it in churches. And Cliff proved the song could double as a peaceful protest. The quake rolled across oceans. The single climbed to #2 in Australia and New Zealand and cracked top 20 positions in many European nations, earning triple platinum from 3 different countries. All that success fueled children's charities, proving you can share faith, raise cash, and still conquer charts. Away from spotlights, another, softer drama bloomed. In 1971, Cliff welcomed a 22-year-old Olivia Newton-John onto his TV show, It's Cliff Richard. Sparks flew. He later confessed, "I knew right away she was a friend for life." What fans did not know until his 2020 autobiography was that the friendship hid unspoken love. He wrote, "When I and many of us were in love with Olivia, she was engaged to someone else. I lost my chance." Cliff never married, and Olivia's smile stayed etched on his heart. Complications deepened. Olivia's fiancé was Bruce Welch, Cliff's own bandmate from the Shadows. Olivia and Bruce met in 1968 while she opened shows for the group. Their romance ignited headlines because Bruce was still married. 5 turbulent years later, the engagement dissolved, and Bruce spiraled so badly he harmed himself. Rumors whispered that Olivia might have turned toward Cliff, yet no one spoke aloud. The hush grew thunderous. Despite every tear, Cliff and Olivia kept singing together for 4 decades. Their 1980 duet Suddenly from Xanadu thrilled cinemas, and live shows featured playful takes on When I'm 64, plus other golden tunes. Cliff often told crowds, Olivia had a kind of grace no one else could match. Their final duet came in October 2015 during Cliff's 75th birthday concerts at Royal Albert Hall as they shared Suddenly One Last Moving Time. His 2023 album Cliff with Strings, My Kind of Life, preserved that performance as a glowing tribute. Heartbreak struck 3 weeks before Olivia's passing. Cliff phoned, and she answered in her warm, cheery tone. "Good day, Cliff, how are you, darling?" He later wrote, "I never thought for one moment of that call that I'd be writing this." After a 30-year battle with breast cancer, Olivia died on 8 August 2022. Cliff, shattered, said he hated the word death, insisting Olivia had simply stopped living. It was the only way he could face the silence she left behind. Cliff's peace shattered again on 14 August 2014 while resting in Portugal. He switched on the news and froze. Helicopters hovered above his Berkshire apartment, and police were ransacking his home live on screen. "They look like burglars," he muttered in shock. This was no theft. It was a coordinated raid secretly choreographed between the BBC and South Yorkshire Police, who even nicknamed the footage the Money Shot. At 77, the knighted icon collapsed to his kitchen floor, sobbing while the world watched. Courts later heard him list the dozens of nations that aired video of strangers rifling through his private life. He feared a fatal heart attack under that stress. The storm began with a single claim from a man in his 40s who alleged Cliff assaulted him during a 1985 Billy Graham rally at Bramall Lane Stadium. 200,000 people had attended that 5-night crusade. The accuser described a side room filled with sports equipment, a space proven not to exist in 1985, with the gear stored elsewhere. Police spent 22 months chasing this phantom, ignoring their own officers who guarded Cliff that evening. Those bodyguards were never interviewed. The probe cost taxpayers $800,000 and ended with 0 charges. Not one. Even so, the BBC ended a sensational broadcast for Scoop of the Year, a move the court later blasted as arrogant and humiliating, handing Cliff extra damages. Meanwhile, Cliff slid into depression. He could not sleep. Shingles scarred his skin, weight dropped, and he once fainted from exhaustion. He said his home felt poisoned. Albums stalled, book tours halted, and every mirror reflected only a headline, not a human being. Then came an unbelievable twist. Days after the raid, a man tried to blackmail Cliff, demanding cash or he would spread fresh lies. He was arrested, yet investigators still treated his original abuse claim as credible. Cliff finally received $400,000 from South Yorkshire police, who admitted tipping off the BBC was unlawful. The BBC itself later swallowed almost $2 million in legal bills and damages. Even that victory felt incomplete. Prosecutors use a phrase, insufficient evidence, rather than stating outright that no evidence existed. Cliff cried in court, begging officials to say plainly that nothing supported the claims. He told lawmakers the public naming had changed how he met every gaze in the street. In July 2018, he won a historic privacy judgment that forced British media to rethink live raid coverage forever. He said the case was never just about compensation. It was about survival, about proving that what happened to him was not merely unfair, but inhumane. 2 stolen years could never be returned. Yet his voice remained, still singing against the shadow.